Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sunday Live Dharma. My name is Nick, and I'm very grateful to be practicing with all of you today. Today, we'll be hearing reflections from our good and longtime temple friend, Laura Olson, Won La Sun, who has just returned from living and teaching in Ukraine this past year. Before we begin our service, though, if you could join me in reading the Essential Dharmas of Daily Practice on page 11. Essential Dharmas of Daily Practice. The mind is originally free from disturbance, but disturbances arise in response to sensory conditions. Let us restore the equanimity of our true nature by letting go of disturbances. The mind is originally free from delusion, but delusions arise in response to sensory conditions. Let us restore the wisdom of our true nature by letting go of delusions. The mind is originally free from wrongdoing, but wrongdoings arise in response to sensory conditions. Let us restore the precepts of our true nature by letting go of wrongdoings. Let us replace disbelief, greed, laziness, and ignorance with belief, zeal, questioning, and dedication. Let us turn resentment into gratitude. Let us turn dependency into self-reliance. Let us turn reluctance to learn into willingness to learn well. Let us turn reluctance to teach into willingness to teach well. Let us turn lack of public spirit into eagerness to serve the good of all. Now, please stand up behind your mat and join in some peaceful relaxation Qi Gong movements. So let's start with our feet about shoulder width apart. We're going to begin by relaxing your shoulders. Take a breath in and breathe out, releasing any tension. Be aware of any discomfort in your body. And now take a moment to just bounce up and down, relaxing. Let your arms shake. Bounce a little to the right and to the left, backwards, forwards, and then side to side. And then slowly let your body come to a rest and relax in the center. Even though we're moving while doing this meditation, the principle is the same as sitting. So as you breathe in, gather up and push down, breathing out. As you move, try to find the stillness in each movement. And simply be with your body. This time, breathe in. Push out to the side like you're pushing out against a wall. Feel the tension. And then breathe out, releasing. One more time. Breathe in. Hold and release. This time, breathe in. Reach up as high as you can towards the ceiling, and breathe out. This time, breathe in, arms out to the side, and bend over at the waist, breathing out. Gather a circle, and then bring that up over your head and release. One more time. Breathe in and breathe out. Gather a circle. Breathing in, raise up, and then up, and breathe out. Come back to center. Now this time, let's do some circles, starting with our ankle. Spin your ankle in a circle, and reverse. Other side. And reverse. Next, we'll do the knees. So hands on your knees and spin your knees in a circle. And then reverse the direction. Next, hands on your waist, spin your hips in a circle. And reverse. Next, hands on your shoulders and spin your elbows in a circle. Really try to open up your chest and your back. And reverse. Next, behind your back, clasp your hands like this and allow your head to come to a rest. Take a breath in and bring your head up to the side. When you reach the back, breathe out. And when you reach the bottom, go back up in the other direction. And one more time. Now take a moment to stand, shoulder width apart. Breathe in, gathering your awareness. And breathe out. One more time. And take a moment to just stand, being aware of your body, of your mind, and gently palms together and feet together. Please feel free to join us in 4 bows, either standing or kneeling. And please be mindful to use your mat as a cushion for your knees if you do full bows. Thank you.
With gratitude, I bow to the grace of heaven and earth, honoring the marvelous gift of nature and the universe. With gratitude, I bow to the grace of parents and everyone who has given me life and nurtured me. With gratitude, I bow to the grace of fellow beings, the truth of interconnectedness among all beings. With gratitude, I bow to the grace of laws, which guides us, protects us, and promotes justice.
We often refers to Master Sotaesan, the founding teacher of Won Buddhism, is quote, "Meditation is simple and easy. Anyone can practice it." We have a little meditation practitioners, Bodhicras, Oliver, children also joining us here. Bodhicras or Oliver, what do you think about this meaning? If you think of the way to explain what meditation is or how you meditate in a simplest, easiest way, what would you say? Sit down and back straight. And softly close your eyes. Yeah, that's very simple and easy. Thank you. Oliver, what do you think?
Sit straight up and just let your mind have put all the thoughts away for that period of time when we're meditating.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Oliver said, if you have thoughts, you let go of your thoughts. Is there what he said? And so relax your mind, and when thoughts here, just relax, let go of your thoughts. I think these two children really said the very basic that explains meditation is indeed simple and easy. Anyone can practice it. Just relax into your most comfortable posture. And then whenever thoughts arise, let go. By letting go of our thoughts, we relax more. And that's the beginning of a meditation. That's the middle of the meditation. And that's the whole journey of a meditation. And then you will be aware whatever happening during this sitting. Anytime, any moment when you notice you feel uncomfortable, feel free to readjust, rearrange. You're sitting in a chair or on your mat. To support our sitting with back straight, feel your pelvic floor, feel your lower abdomen, feel a little bit of a pressure with your physiological sensation. In this way, you can invite more grounding, energy, and awareness. Feel rooted with the earth, through the earth. Sometimes you can use the visualization. You are sitting like a big mountain. Over the time, if your legs feel uncomfortable, you may gently, quietly change your position. If thoughts arise, you know what to do. Just be aware of the thoughts. Don't run away from your thoughts. Don't pursue your thoughts. Fully embrace right in front of you. And embrace your any wandering, fleeting thoughts inside the container of your deep in-breath. And then release. Dear friends, thank you for sitting together, pausing together, and with this simple and present mind, heart, and awareness, we cultivate our focused, calm, and clear spirit. May we honor this very special, gifted time for us, for self.
Page 4, 영주. 천지연기 아심정 만사여의 아심통 천지여와 동일체 하여 천지 동심정 천지연기야 심정 만사여외야 심통 천지여와 동일체하여 천지동심정 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 천지연기야 심정 만사여외야 심통 천지여와 동일체하여 천지동심정
September prayer. Palms together. O Dharmakaya Buddha Fourfold Grace, 거룩하신 법신불 사은이시여. In September, we offer our gratitude prayer to the earth for sharing bountiful gardens. Squashes and tomatoes have become part of our bodies. Now the garden is being cleared out for fall vegetables. As we begin the autumn season, may our open, light-hearted spirit shine like the glow of a September sun. In this month of contemplation, maturity, and transition, may our mind and spirit be strong and mature like the stalks of autumn grain. May we let go of any depressed thoughts and worries. May we allow our minds to be free and fly like birds in the open blue sky. This fall, we are happy to resume our pilgrimage trip to Korea. Bless our North Carolina temple friends, Carol, Nick, Patty, Miguel, and Blanca, who will be traveling to Korea to visit the motherland of Won Buddhism. May their spiritual journey be enlightening and joyful. We pray for the health and well-being of our temple members, practitioners, and visitors. May their families and friends receive the beneficial energy of our practice. In this September prayer, with our palms together, with our hearts together, we hold good intentions. Wherever we find ourselves, may our September 2024 be filled with a steady practice of stillness, contemplation, and mindfulness. May there be healing in our hearts, in our communities, and around the world. May we promote world peace. This we pray. 원하옵니다. 원하옵니다. 간절히 간절히 원하옵니다. 내 손길 닿는 곳 내 발길 머무는 곳 내 음성 메아리치는 곳 내 마음 향하는 곳마다 우리 모두 다 함께 우리 모두 다 함께 성불제주 인연이 되어지다. I wish and pray sincerely and truly, where my hands touch the world, where my feet walk on the earth, where my voice echoes through the hills, and in all realms where my heart and mind reach, that we all together share a true affinity for attaining great enlightenment and for helping all living beings. Sutra Chanting, page 6. Ilwon-sang vow in Korean. You're welcome to join us chanting this vibrational original verse in Korean, or you can just listen, resting your heart and soul in this chanting energy. 일원상 서원문 일원은 어느도 단의 입정처에요 유무초월의 생사문인바 천지부모동포 법률의 본원이 제불조사범부 중생의 성품을 능히 성유상하고 능히 성무상하여 유상으로 보면 상주불멸로 여자연하여 무량세계를 전개하였고 우상으로 보면 우주의 성주계공과 만물의 생로병사 사생의 심신작용을 따라 육도로 변화를 시켜 혹은 진급으로 혹은 강급으로 혹은 은생어해로 혹은 해생어은으로 이와 같이 무량세계를 전개
모든 중생 이법신 불일원성을 제받아서 심신을 원만하게 수호하는 공부를 하되 또는 사리를 원만하게 하는 공부를 하되 또는 심신을 원만하게 사용하는 공부를 지성으로 하여 진급이 되고 은혜는 입을지언정 강급이 되고 애독은 입지 아니하기로서 이번에 위력을 얻도록까지 서원하고 일원의 죄성에 합하도록까지 서원하고. Page 9. 일원상바 일원 is the realm of samadhi beyond words and speech, the gateway of birth and death, transcending being and non-being, the origin of heaven and earth, parents, fellow beings and laws, true nature of all Buddhas, enlightened masters, unenlightened people and sentient beings, still one manifests as both permanence and impermanence, viewed as permanent, still one unfolds into an infinite world that is ever abiding, spontaneous, just as it is, viewed as impermanent, still one unfolds into infinite worlds through the cycle of formation, duration, decay, and extinction of the universe, and the birth, aging, illness, and death of all beings, according to how we use our minds and bodies in the four forms of birth, we transform through the six realms of existence, progressing or regressing with grace, arising from harm or harm from grace. Therefore we unawakened beings vow to practice wholeheartedly, modeling ourselves after Ilwan Sang, the Dharmakaya Buddha, by cultivating our minds and bodies deeply, knowing human affairs and universal principles thoroughly, and using our minds and bodies skillfully, thus progressing rather than regressing, and receiving grace rather than harm, till we attain the great empowerment of will and become one with the nature of will. That's actually a video.
And then the more you cut, they grow back fresh and nice. So please feel free to comment. Feel free to take these chives to your meal table anytime. Welcome. Enjoy.
Recently, our good temple friend and longtime practitioner, Laura Olson, Won Buddhist, safely returned from Ukraine, where she had been living and teaching this past year. This morning, she is going to share her reflections about her life and experiences in Ukraine. Let us practice deep listening as we warmly welcome Laura.
Good morning, everyone. This is not exactly a Dharma talk, I suppose. It certainly won't be a travelogue nor a history lesson, but I'm sharing it with you, honestly, to discover the Dharma in this experience for myself, because it's still a little new. I don't have a lot of perspective on it yet, but there will be time for some discussion and some Q&A afterward. So maybe you can be thinking about that question and help me with it. I will say that I went with 3 principles in mind. I had no expectations of what I would accomplish there. I had no goals as such, which I think left me more open to what presented itself for me to do. I just had the clear intention of going with some purpose that would be of benefit to people in Ukraine. I tried to be present and open in every moment. It was a 1-year walking meditation in a way. And I decided before I went that I would say yes to everything that was asked of me, if it was in my power to do it. Before I go on, you may be wondering about what I'm wearing in this North Carolina heat. This is called Vyshyvanka, and it's the national dress of Ukraine. It comes in so many patterns, I couldn't even begin to describe them, but traditionally every village had its own pattern, and you could actually tell where someone came from by the Vyshyvanka that they were wearing. In case you think that this is cultural appropriation, it is not. It was a gift to me, and my Ukrainian friends encouraged me to wear it whenever. They wear it on every possible national occasion and for every possible celebration. So I do it with pride today. Good. This opening image includes 3 things that I will touch on today. On the left is the enormous sculpture of Rodina Mate, the mother of the nation, which stands on a high hill in Ukraine. It was erected during the Soviet period, and it had a big red star on her shield, which she carries in her left hand. And it faces Moscow, with the clear implication being that the mother of the nation of Ukraine was Russia. Nothing could be less true. We'll talk about that a little more. The Ukrainian government, just before the war started, actually, replaced that red star shield with the 3 trident, or the trident symbol, the trezub, the 3 teeth as it's called. And she still faces Moscow, but with a very different attitude, I think. The middle image is of the Maidan Nezalezhnosti. This is Independence Square in Kiev, the largest square. It is now almost filled with the blue and yellow flags that you see. Each one represents a soldier who has been lost in this war. It's a little overwhelming to see that sea of flags and people coming all the time to add more. On the right is one of the many golden domed churches of Kiev. They're magnificent, and you usually see them as the backdrop maybe to newscasts from Kiev. The saying is that as long as the golden domes are standing, Ukraine will prevail. So they are standing. So let me tell you what I did there. I volunteered as an English teacher in an elementary school of about 250 students. This was not my first experience in long-term volunteering. I was a Peace Corps volunteer in Thailand in 2010 to 2012, doing much the same thing. I worked with English teachers in an elementary school. So I was prepared, I think, for what it would be like to live in a different culture with a different language and so on and so forth. I have cycled through those feelings of isolation, excitement, despair, loneliness, rededication, and so on. It sort of does this, and I was prepared for it, which was helpful to me. Why Ukraine? Why did I do this? If I mention these other hotspots in the world, how do they make you feel? Gaza, Sudan, Democratic Republic of Congo, Yemen, Syria. Do any of them speak to you in any way? Do you feel an affinity? Do they call to you? Maybe because of heritage, maybe because of some connection that you've had with one of those places, maybe simple compassion. Why was it Ukraine for me? Before I went, I gave a talk here on facing anger and frustration and what to do, in other words, with righteous anger. And a few weeks ago, Reverend Kwan gave a talk on, is anger bad? And two things came from that talk, those two talks for me. The first, he mentioned a sense of responsibility in response to anger at injustice, a sense of responsibility. And I thought, what responsibility do I have for these things that are happening in the world? And I also carried away from his talk a sense that maybe we have a certain affinity for some of these places more than others, for whatever reasons. In my case, I go back to my roots, but my far roots. I am not of Ukrainian descent, far from it. However, my father was Swedish, so I have Viking heritage. I mean, I said way back, didn't I? Well, it turns out that Kiev was founded by Vikings, and who knows? Who knows? Does that create affinity for me? I really don't know. I also started ballroom dancing, sort of as a, I don't know, later life response to frustration with things I hadn't done that I had always wanted to do. And I found a studio over in Durham that is run by Ukrainian instructors. And I thought, these are the most interesting, creative, funny people I have ever met. I was just totally drawn into their world. I started studying the language just for the heck of it, just so they couldn't talk about me behind my back, I guess, but anyway. And then I thought, I don't know why, something said, maybe you could do another Peace Corps gig. And I looked up Ukraine, and there it was. However, after submitting all my paperwork and getting to the point of almost having an interview for this, the COVID epidemic began, and Peace Corps withdrew its volunteers from all over the world. And then, of course, after that, the war began, and Peace Corps will not send anyone into a war zone. However, I met someone who ran this school in Ukraine. She turned out to be my language partner for conversation. She wanted to improve her English, and I wanted to improve my Ukrainian. And we started talking about her school, and she said, English is one of our priorities in teaching our children. And she said, right now, we really are understaffed because our native speaker teacher left when the war started. So I talked more to her about that. I told her about my experience teaching in Thailand with Peace Corps. And I said, you know, I could do this for you if you want. And she just looked at me and she said, oh, no, you're not going to go to Ukraine. And I said, yes, I would consider doing this. I said, I would volunteer. All I ask is that you find me a place to live. We talked a little bit more, and she kept demurring, I think. Finally, I bought a ticket for the end of August. And I said, I'll be there when school starts if you want me to be there in your school. And she finally believed that I was serious. So that's how it happened. Okay, let's go to the next slide, please. Getting there is not easy right now. The airspace over Ukraine is closed for obvious reasons. So you have to go by bus or by train from Poland. So I decided to take the train. It's a 24-hour trip, and I decided it would be nice to have a train where I could at least lie down. So I got myself a compartment. So here was this, trains are lovely. The train was wonderful, and there's my little compartment stuffed with my luggage for the year. Okay, and the next slide, please. However, when we got to the border, we were there for hours, and I thought, what is going on? And there was all this noise, and it was midnight, and so on. I looked out. Every car of our train was being jacked up, and a new chassis, if you will, put underneath it, because the gauge, the railway gauge in Ukraine, is the Soviet size, and it isn't the same as the rest of Europe. So we sat there while every car was swapped out with new wheels. Well, making a long story short, I did get there, and I was in a town called Khatne, which is a little south of Kiev. It's at the end of one of the metro lines and a short bus ride. And let's go, yes. So here was my town. And I thought, oh, this looks a little sad, actually. Every house is behind a gate or a wall. And that's the style in Europe, to be sure. But this was quite serious looking. And it didn't really appeal to me very much. Let's go on to the next. Yeah, so, I mean, some of the gates and the things were very beautiful, but you can see there are very lovely homes behind them. And most of them had a very nice yard. Everybody grows some fruit trees and some vegetables. And then the next. But this is where I was living. I lived in an apartment complex, of which there are many now sprouting up because there's so many people moving from the east, where the war is much more severe and dramatic, to Kiev. So this was my apartment complex. And other than being able to walk around that, which had a tiny little lake in the middle of it, which was very nice, there was really no open space for me to walk, and I'm so used to taking long walks. And I live in Hillsborough. I'm right near the Riverwalk. I'm so spoiled, I realize. But anyway, so I was a metro ride away from Kiev. I could easily go into the city and visit and sightsee, which I did. The first night I was in my apartment, there was an air raid, and I had the app on my phone so I could hear it, and it tells you to go to the shelter and blah, blah, blah. So the shelter for me was the inner staircase of this building and the first floor. So I took my flashlight, I took something to read, and I went down to the first floor, and I thought, oh, well, maybe I'll get a chance to at least meet my neighbors this way. Well, I sat there by myself for about an hour. Nobody else came. And I finally realized that people have given up going to shelters almost completely. Because the air raids sometimes happen 2 or 3 times in a night. So sooner finish with one and get back in bed than another one is sounded, and you're supposed to get up and go again. This is obviously calculated to demoralize and depress everybody and make them crazy from lack of sleep. So I stopped doing it as well, and I eventually became like everybody else. I slept through the air raids, even though they were rather loud on my phone. Every once in a while, something actually did come over, and that's, the line, the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, has a whole new meaning for me. But the air defense system around Kiev is very robust. The real danger comes from the falling debris, from what is shot out of the sky. One of my fellow teachers had a piece of this land in her backyard, fortunately not on her house. A piece did land on a house about a half mile away from my apartment building and set it on fire. Another person's apartment building was struck, and a wall was kind of sheared off the side of the apartment building. So things do happen. Statistically, what are the chances? I don't know. I sort of began to believe that it was about the same as going out for a ride on Route 40. So daily life goes on very normally, I thought. I mean, at least to every perception that when I looked around and saw how people were living their lives. People go to work, people go to school, people walk in the parks. There are beautiful, beautiful parks in Kiev. They go about their business. And they have made, I think, a conscious decision to live life as normally as possible. This is one way to defy what is going on and the expectations of Putin. Okay, oh, and my little apartment complex had these little stores in the bottom, which were very, very handy. I could go and get a few groceries. I didn't have to go all the way into Kiev, for instance. And I even had a dentist, a stomatolog. So everything was there. So life is quite normal in these places. Okay, next one, please, John. This is my school. And this is the view from my apartment window. I couldn't get away from school if I tried. I looked right out onto it. But anyway, it's a lovely modern building, as you can see. The little half-size football field got a lot of work, every weekend even. And that was the most popular place, I think, for them to be. As I said, 250 students, this two-story building, modern, cheery, light, super clean. And it had a shelter, which is the next, which was the basement. So when I say nobody went to the shelter, that excludes schools. Everyone takes the students to the shelter, obviously. So we would do that whenever it happened. And the kids were very used to taking hands in little pairs and walking down there. They knew exactly what to do. As you can see, there were chairs and tables down there, but no separated spaces. So it was sort of like teaching in a gymnasium. It was very loud and a little difficult, but we did the best we could. If it got to be lunchtime, hot lunch was brought down in big vats and everything, and a full service lunch was served to the kids. Borscht every day, I promise. I promise you, they never missed it. Okay. The next one, thanks. So I was teaching 8 levels. I had all of the students in my classes. I had 12 different preparations, 4 to 5 classes a day. It was a pretty killer schedule, I have to say. And then I was asked to teach an English class for the teachers. Again, not wanting to say no to anything, I said sure. And that was where I made many of my best friends. They were very dedicated, and we would meet after school at about 4 o'clock, and they would stay for an hour and learn a little bit of English. Okay, this is the first day of school, which is a national holiday in Ukraine. There are no classes that day, but everybody goes to school. Parents go with their kids. All the teachers show up, and we had a little ceremony outside. Everybody wears vyshyvanka, and they bring gifts of flowers for their new teachers. The next slide. So, and we had a magnificent array of lovely goodies for everyone to enjoy. As I said, this could not have been more normal. Everything done to make the kids feel that this is as normal a year as possible. Here are some of the lovely flowers that were brought for the teachers, and the last one. And I just thought I would show these last 2 slides. These are some of my students learning to make vareniki, which are little filled dumplings, and that's one of the national dishes. So there they sat, but they were in their vyshyvanka making vareniki. But it was really sweet. So everything is done to encourage their understanding of their culture and their appreciation for their culture. And finally, just for the cute factor, this one is off the charts. But here are the kids as they're lining up to go somewhere. They always take hands. And of course, the little girls push forward when they know that there's a picture being taken. But anyway, I'm just going to leave that one up because the cute factor is off the charts, right? So we can just enjoy that one for a while. Let me say a little bit about the language, because it's not just that I was learning a different language while I was there, but many of my children in the school were also learning Ukrainian for the first time. The reality is that in the east of the country, it is extremely Russified because many Russians came there to run factories. It's very industrial there. There are a lot of mineral resources, oil refineries, this kind of thing. And many Russians came to live there, work there, run the factories, and so on. And the Russian influence is very strong there. A lot of intermarriage, so there are mixed families of Ukrainian and Russian, and most people in that part of Ukraine speak Russian as their first language. What is the difference between Russian and Ukrainian? They're both Slavic languages, obviously, but the percentage of words in common is about 50%. That's not that high when you think about it. However, everybody's able to communicate with a mixture of both. And but if Russian is your first language, you arrive in school and all of a sudden you're being educated in Ukrainian. So that was a challenge for them as well as for me. And the first graders couldn't understand why I didn't know Ukrainian. It didn't occur to them that anybody in the world spoke anything else, you know. So they would blah it to me, and I was sort of, Finally, it occurred. I think they understood that. That may be the most important lesson they ever learned from me. I don't know, but anyway. Just a really brief history of Ukraine so that you understand the context of this war. This is by no means the first conflict in this part of the world. Obviously, it's a very old culture. As I said, Kiev was founded by the Vikings in 482, making it one of the oldest cities in Europe. It is far older than Moscow. Moscow was not even dreamed of at that time. And it was an independent state for several hundred years after its founding, which precedes Russia as a nation. Ukraine is incredibly fertile. You probably know this, the breadbasket of Europe. It has what's called black soil that extends about 10 feet down. The only other place on earth that has this is or was our Great Plains. So it was coveted all through its history. It was a crossroad of influences from the West, influenced by Western Europe, mostly by Poland and Lithuania and the Austro-Hungarian Empire. From the East, it was exploited under Soviet rule. From the South, bordering on the Black Sea, this was the path of influence from the Greeks, the ancient Greeks, from the Byzantine Empire and later by the Ottoman Turks. There have been many national movements, national independence movements, beginning in 1698, when the Tatars, Cossacks, sought to throw off Polish rule. Now you know where the Cossacks come from. As much as the Russians would like you to think that they are Russian, they are not. Another independence movement began after World War I, which was quickly ended with the Bolshevik takeover. With another brief movement for independence during World War II, but as the Germans and Russians converged on Ukraine, that came to an end as well. With the dissolution of the Soviet Union, independence came in 1991. This was the first time that Ukraine was a sovereign nation. However, Russia has never stopped interfering with the sovereignty of Ukraine, resulting in 2 more revolutions. In 2004, the so-called Orange Revolution, when the Soviet-supported president was defeated in elections, and the Revolution of Dignity in 2014, when Ukraine made its preference for alignment with Europe and the European Union rather than Russia. However, Russia responded by engineering phony elections in the East and took over those oblasts or provinces. And also annexed Crimea. So I referred to the East. It's called Donbass. And so there is still this place in Ukraine where people feel more Russian, perhaps, than Ukrainian. This is changing, I guess, with the war. But so many families are divided in their loyalties. My Ukrainian instructors at the dance studio, some of whom have parents in Donbass, said that at the beginning of the war, they couldn't even talk to their parents about this because their parents had totally absorbed Russian propaganda about Ukraine being Nazified. With time, I think maybe the reality is becoming a little clearer, but the propaganda machine is working overtime in the East. The final piece of history that I want to share with you is the Holodomor, which was a famine engineered by Stalin from 1932 to 35, when the grain that is grown in Ukraine was taken to Moscow, and I mean all of it, to be sold to foreign countries for a great deal of money. About 3.5 million people died, 3.5 million Ukrainians. This is another Holocaust, really. They died of starvation. This is not only genocide, but it was a form of cultural extermination. Russia now claims many artists and writers who were born in Ukraine, but who were probably educated in Russia, and they appear as Russian national heroes. Artworks have been removed from Ukraine and are now exhibited in Russian museums. And even antique vyshyvanka, which are works of art, are just shipped en masse to Russia so that Ukraine cannot look to them as part of its heritage. Okay, let's go. Well, we'll leave the cuties. Okay. For the last month of my stay in Ukraine after school was over, I moved to the city of Lviv, which is about 30 miles from the Polish border. And it's a very, very different culture there. It's very Western European. It was part of the Polish Empire for a very long time. I have no beautiful photographs of it. Please Google it if you'd like to see what it's like. But it's a beautiful, beautiful 17th, 18th century city, almost completely preserved intact in its historical center. I only want to show you these couple of pictures. Here's one of the churches, which looks pretty ugly because you're looking at a lot of boarded up windows. That's the reality. Everything is boarded up and sandbagged to prevent destruction if possible. So you go into the churches, which used to be filled with beautiful light and are now rather dark and somber. The one on the right is a monument, a fountain, actually, a beautiful sculpture, which has now been sandbagged and covered over, but a photograph of it on the front so you can see what was there. And the message in Ukrainian said, "We will appreciate the original after we win the war." So, again. Let's go to the next. Okay, thanks. In Lviv, there is a very old historical cemetery. Right next to it is this military cemetery, which has been opened since the war began in order to accommodate the numbers of soldiers who are being killed. So here are again, Ukrainian flags and the flags of each soldier's company, I believe. It's just a sea of flags and people coming in busloads from all over to see where their loved ones are buried. I think the saddest thing to me was, I can't even tell you how many are there. It's, I think, thousands. But right next to it is an equally large piece of land, which has been cleared and prepared for the inevitable. And that to me was very poignant. These are only the soldiers from Lviv, from this city, who have died. So presumably other cities have equally large military cemeteries of this sort. Next one, thanks. So I studied Ukrainian language at the end of my stay. Would have been nice if it had worked out the other way. I could have begun with the language study. But anyway, I was at Ukrainian Catholic University. So as I said, Lviv is in the west of the country, and so was under Polish influence for a very, very long time. So the Catholic influence, rather than the Orthodox influence, is much stronger there. So Ukrainian Catholicism, I can't tell you much about it. It's actually called Ukrainian Greek Catholic, and I don't know what the connection with Greece is either, or the Greek Catholic Church. But the center of its campus was this magnificent church. Everything revolved around this place. There were 5 services a day. You could drop in any time. And all the buildings were arranged around it. So it truly was the spiritual heart of the campus. And this is the interior. It's a modern church, but it harks back to an Orthodox style or a Ukrainian style with mosaics. This is a beautiful mosaic in the apse. And while I was there studying, those of us who were studying language also had the opportunity to volunteer. So this was a kitchen that provides meals for soldiers. It makes up packaged meals so they have something else other than MREs, I guess, or whatever the Ukrainian equivalent would be. And oh my gosh, I mean, we were making borscht, of course, but all kinds of just amazing vareniki, stuffing dumplings and everything. No sandwiches and granola bars. This was real cuisine. It was beautiful. I don't know how they got it there, but they did. So they're taking care of their own in that way. Okay. Imagine my delight when I arrived at Ukrainian University and put myself up in the guest house and walked across the street to this magnificent park. This is what I'd missed all along. And this is one of the largest parks in Europe. It's magnificently designed with natural trails and also with beautiful sculptured parts. There was a sculpture, as a matter of fact, a sculpture exhibition going on at the time. So in the middle of this, you see a big head. Well, that was a sculpture that was on display in the park. And also a lovely fountain, which I thought, there's all kinds of power shortages right now. The entire power structure has been attacked by Russia. And so there are rolling blackouts all the time. But there are, wizards who manage to cobble together something so that everybody has some power every day and some water every day. But they would turn on the fountain for about 30 seconds and then turn it off again. And then if you waited long enough, it would come back on. But they are not going to just shut off this fountain and let it stand there dry during this war. I loved it. And I'll leave you with this final image, I think, of the most normal, natural thing you could imagine, a grandmother and a grandchild walking through this magnificent park. So what is my takeaway from my time there? In the end, it seemed that the most significant thing I did was just to show up. Is it Woody Allen who said that? 90% of life is showing up. It meant so much to them that somebody would come and that students came to this university to study language from all over the world during wartime. So again, I didn't go with expectations, but I'm glad that was the message that they took away from my time there. I'm immensely proud of having been with them. I'm immensely proud of them, and I miss them. So, thank you very much.
Well, I'm sure you were all sitting there like I was sitting here thinking, wow, could I do that? Could I do that? And I can answer no. But I loved, Laura, how you like unfolded a story and a picture of the country and the people. And I have often asked myself that question, like, could I survive in a war zone? Could I? And the picture you painted was one of hope. And that really touched me. I love that. So I will go to bed tonight being more hopeful and sending my thoughts to Ukraine. And I thank you so much. That was a wonderful talk. I know. So it's 11:25. We are scheduled to pair up and talk. Would you like to still do that? Okay. So folks in the Dharma Hall, please pair up with one or two or three friends next to you and share something from Laura's magnificent presentation. And friends joining online, please share your thoughts and questions in the chat. And after we converse for a bit, we'll gather back for some questions and answers.
Few things. Magic.
When Lara said she's going to go to Ukraine, our temple community friends were really worried if, she would be there safe. And we've been holding her in our thoughts and prayers. We're so happy she's back home, sound and safe. So happy. And thank you so much for sharing that rich stories with us. And through her stories, we can really feel the strong resilience of people and on the other side of a planet. We feel more deeply connected to whatever going on in the world, not only through news, but through real story from our friend. Let's take a moment with the palms together, connecting to all the friends and people in the world, especially people and friends and children who are in much more the distressful situations, and sending our good wishes, good energy, hoping they stay strong, not giving up, maintain their hopes. Thank you for your prayer. Thank you for what you do to show our love and care through many different forms of actions.
Thank you all for practicing with us today. For another opportunity to practice, you are invited to join our community meditation gathering at our peaceful Raleigh temple at 4 o'clock this afternoon. Our temple has a weekly rhythm of practice. In addition to our Saturday and Sunday morning gatherings, every Tuesday we hold a peaceful evening meditation, every Wednesday we have a decluttering meditation, and every Thursday we have scripture study sessions. You can join us for these via Zoom at 10 a.m. or 7 p.m., or in person at 7 p.m. All are welcome. By being in our community email group, you will receive updates about all of these programs. Many thanks to those who have been coming and helping to tend our gardens. If you have some time to do gardening meditation, even 15 or 20 minutes, please contact the reverends. With the weather cooling down, the garden is a great place to be. We always appreciate and thank you for your thoughtful donations. Now, let us turn to page 13 and bless each other with the morning prayer song.
Dhammakaya Buddha, fourfold grace, I begin a new day in your presence. Today full of wealth and with peace of mind, may I walk along the path of the Buddha. Dhammakaya Buddha, fourfold grace, I begin a new day with your grace. Today gratefully souls I meet. Dhammakaya Buddha, fourfold grace. I begin a new day with compassion. Today, making the world a more loving place. May I do all that I can for one world. From 11:40, there will be Dharma Name Holders monthly meeting at the residence. And since we couldn't have a Q&A time, Laura will be here around for a while. So feel free to talk to her and welcome her. And then if you have any questions that you want to hear a little bit more, please hang around. It's a beautiful day. Let's give our big waves to our online friends through the Mr. Sony. Happy September! Happy September!